remember when you used to play hopscotch? Now, I know I'm not the only one. Some of y'all had the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was a lot of fun when we played hopscotch, especially when you got a chance to draw it out, on the sidewalk with your chalk. Well, anyway, my cousin and I were playing that game one day. And then my mom hollered out, hey, I need you to go pick up your sister from school. So we went, my cousin and I do, how little girls do. We plan, walking, going to go pick up my sister at the school, which is just right around the corner from the house. And so as we're going along, just enjoying each other's company, all of a sudden I hear my cousin yell, run. She says, run. And I'm thinking, run? What? Is this a different game that we're playing? But then I realized, no, this is not a game. She's seriously telling me to run. And that's because we had innocently stumbled into a race riot. You can imagine that. 2 little girls, all of a sudden, faced with fighting, around us. And so we're trying to figure out where to go for safety. And my cousin is still yelling, run, run. And so, we're running, toward the school because we still got to get my sister. We're still running toward the school. But then all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, what am I running for? Because I'm one of them. I'm on what I would consider on the winning side. I'm one of them. So why am I running? And my cousin is still like, come on, come on. Yeah, this last time she says, run. But then she tacks on something at the end of it this time. She said, because they might think you're one of them. How many times have you encountered mistaken identity? And how many times have you just stayed in that space of mistaken identity? Unfortunately, it happens too often. And a lot of times it comes from a place of fear or a place of wanting to fit in. Well, that's coming from fear as well. So I want to encourage you to really get to know who you are. In my story, I was talking about mistaken identity. Now, believe it or not, as people of faith, Christians, we can suffer from mistaken identity. Now, Jesus helps us with this because in Matthew 16, verses 13 through 18, he asks a question. He asks his disciples, whom do men say that I am? And the disciples, you can imagine, they're like, let's see, okay. So one pops up and says, well, they say you're John the Baptist. And then another one says, nah, they're saying you are Elias. And then yet another one says, nah, they're saying you're Jeremiah. And then what's so funny, one disciple way in the back says, nah, they're just saying you're a prophet. That's it. But then Jesus turns it on them and he says, okay, but who do you say I am? Man, you could hear a pin drop. Now that's my imagination. You could hear a pin drop. And then I'm also thinking, one of the disciples said, you know what? I kind of thought you were Jeremiah too. Oh, God's people. But anyway, eventually, as we continue in that story, that, Peter does say, yes. Peter does say that, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. But I'm going to back up a little bit, back to that question when Jesus asked them, but who do you say that I am? Who do people say you are? Yeah, you. We're not talking disciples. We're not talking about Bible times. We're talking about when people see you, when they see your life, who do they say you are? What's interesting that Paul says in, I think it's also in Matthew, that he says, in him we live and move and have our being. So we don't just add Christ to our lives. You just don't say, oh, that's Christ, that's Jesus Christ right there. Yeah, I'll take some of that. I'll take some Jesus Christ and I'll put it in my pocket over here. Oh, Holy Ghost. Yeah, yeah. Give me some of that Holy Ghost. Give me the Holy Ghost. And then you put it in your other pocket. And you've added him to you, so you can just pull them out when you need them. That's not what we're talking about. When you're walking out this relationship, it becomes everything. It becomes everything. And I'm going to repeat what Paul said. In him we live, in him we move, and in him we have our being. So it's so important that we understand who we are, and we also saying whose we are, and that's nice, but it becomes a heart matter. And also it becomes being intentional about how you show up so that you don't experience mistaken identity. Now, I could hear somebody's probably saying, but LaDonna, how do I remind myself of who I am so that I'm not mistaken? Well, take a look at Ephesians chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay, this is for you. This is so important to go back through those two chapters of that book because it's a wonderful reminder of what Christ did for us and what God thinks of us. There's a lot of in hims in that section. I-N space H-I-M. In him we're this, in him we're that. Now, I'm not telling you exactly what it says because I need you to read because that's how you build your relationship with Christ. All right? So, no more mistaken identity. We know who we are and we knows whose we are and we know whose we are. All right? Okay. I'll see you next time.